Well, renting out your house for a source of income to fund your retirement travels sounds like a great idea. But is it the right answer? We have analyzed this extensively, and we're going to tell you what we wish we knew before making the decision whether to rent out our house for a stream of income or to sell it. If you've just stumbled upon our channel, I'm Heather, and this is Paul. We're taking retirement on the road, the rails, and the waves. Welcome to the Freedom Strategy.
And so like everything in life, it's not completely black and white, and everybody's situation is going to be a little bit different. In our case, when we thought renting our house when we first retired for a source of income and for other reasons was the right thing to do, after really deeply analyzing it after 2 years of doing that, we found out that it wasn't necessarily the best financial decision for us to make.
So there are some things to consider when you're making your decision whether you want to rent out your house or not. And we went through that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there were a number of things to consider. First off is how rentable is your house? Yeah. Is it desirable? Anybody knows that renting your house, if it sits empty for 3 to 4 or 5 months while you're trying to find your next renter, that just cuts into your return on that investment in your income. Right. The other one is, does it require a lot of maintenance?
Yeah, that's a big one.
It's a huge one because there's two sides to that coin. The first side is the the cost side of it. If you're constantly putting money into repairs, it obviously cuts into the income that you're going to be getting from that house. And then secondly, and most importantly, it is a constant headache. You do not want to be up in the middle of the night dealing with a dishwasher problem or an air conditioning problem, right, or plumbing problem, those types of things. You want peace of mind. As you're traveling around, you do not want to be interrupted, right, by your renter requiring you to work, or you're working with your property managers trying to solve problems.
Right. And I think another thing to consider, and this is such a personal decision, is do you need a home base? In fact, that's the question I think we get asked most of all. Do you have a home base? And the things to think about for whether you need a home base is, number one, how much travel do you plan on doing? We travel almost full time, but some people want to travel 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, a year. And so that will help you weigh out whether it's better to rent your house or keep it or sell it. Yeah. So do you need a home base? And a lot of people want a home base, of course, for family reasons. Grandkids, that's a huge issue. Ours are spread all around the world. So for us, that wasn't so much of an issue. We don't need a home base for our kids to come back to. No, we don't. And then also medical care. A lot of people like a home base for medical care. They have their doctor that they trust and they like. We have found that getting medical care you need all around the world is actually pretty easy. So again, for us, that wasn't an issue, but for you personally, you might want to look at those aspects as well.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you are interested in quitting your job to travel extensively, we do have a free PDF handout. It's basically kind of a 12-month countdown, and it gives you something to do each of the 12 months to get that ball rolling to retirement and a lot of travel in your retirement. We have the link to that below. So now let's get into the details. When we first analyzed this, when you were first retiring, and we did a thorough analysis, we made the decision that we wanted to keep our house and rent it out. Mm-hmm. And we did that for a couple of really valid reasons. One is to provide a source of rental income. Now, we're going to get to in a minute whether that actually was beneficial to us financially. So that was one of the factors we considered when we wanted to do extensive travel in retirement. Now, the other thing that came into play is, what if we ended up not liking traveling a lot? And what if we really did want to move home? I think it just kind of gave us a little bit of a safety net that, well, we always have our house if we need it. Yes. Turns out 2.5 years in, we really didn't need it. But we do love to travel. So that became a non-issue. Now, let's talk a little bit about the different ways to rent your house if you choose to keep it. And we've done both of these. One is you can do short-term rentals, or like vacation rentals. Your house does need to be in a location that supports vacation rentals. And another is a long-term lease situation.
Yeah, well, in the short term, that can be looked at two ways. It can be very short-term, like 1 week, 5 day, 3 day, those types of Airbnb or Booking.com rentals. Or other short terms could be like for a month or seasonal. I would consider seasonal to be a short-term
Yep.
rental. Our house was located in Scottsdale, Arizona, which is very good for seasonal type of rentals. So we would rent it. We could have rented it from, let's say, October, November-ish timeframe all the way through April for a much higher rental rate than if we were to do a full 1 year or 2 year lease.
Yes.
So we had to weigh both of those out.
Right. So we weighed those out. And the thing about doing short-term rentals is it takes a lot of time and effort. Now, maybe you have a property manager, but then that really cuts into your profits. So if you're going to do it yourself, like I did, I handled our short-term rentals. We did vacation rentals. We also did month to month. We did the 3-month rental. And it simply requires a lot of time. Now, if you don't mind putting that kind of time in, that could be worth it for you because short-term rentals do make more money. But because we had been doing that for years with another property we had, I knew I didn't want to put in that kind of time. So we decided to do a long-term rental situation. And we had a great renter. I mean, he required almost no effort.
And we also very purposely bought a house a few years back that was very hardened and good for renting. So it was had almost no yard to it.
Right.
It was very hardened from having constant upkeep. It didn't need that. It was what I would consider to be a very lock and leave house.
Right.
So it was a very, very good house for rental purposes.
Yes. So for the first 2 years of our full-time retirement travel, we did rental. We kept our house and we rented it out. And quite honestly, I think that was the right decision for us to make at that time. But 2 years in, we decided to reevaluate. And what'd you come up with?
Well, first, let me take just a couple steps back here. First off, we compared owning and renting a house to what could we get in an equal investment in the stock market. So that was our comparison. Are we better having that equity in the house, the net equity in the house in the stock market, or in a house or in the stock market? So that was our comparison. And after it was all said and done, if we got more than a 6% gain in the stock market, that was going to then perform better than us having and renting a house.
Right.
And that included the appreciation of the house.
Yeah, and I was just going to say that. The big picture stuff that we analyzed, number one, just the amount of rental. Also, you do have to consider when there's turnover, you're going to have at least 1 month unrented and often more than that. And then also the appreciation. And again, we were in Scottsdale, Arizona. That has a high appreciation rate, and we considered that. And we also then looked back at 20 years of the market's performance. So it wasn't just like the last 2 years or 3 years. We looked at a 20-year rate to get a full, accurate picture. Now, let's get into some actual numbers that you have written down.
And one more thing before we even go there, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you read a book called Tax-Free Wealth. It's by an author named Tom Wheelwright. He's actually based in Arizona, but this is an internationally best-selling book.
I'll put a link to that below or above, wherever it comes out, but I'll put a link to that.
We're not accountants. We're not financial. We're not deep financial analysts.
We're not tax attorneys.
We look at it. We're not tax attorneys. He is a
Although
tax attorney.
I am an attorney.
You are an attorney, but
I'm
we're
not a
not
tax
tax attorneys. And it's a fantastic resource to listen to or read as you're considering how to protect your money in retirement.
Right.
And I can't recommend that book enough to go through as you're thinking in detail about how to manage properties, how to make the right investments, and most importantly, how do you protect your wealth? How do you protect that valuable nest egg that you have that you're going to rely on?
Yeah. So super good read, and it will give you some more ideas. Let's get to the numbers of our analysis. So, because you guys want to know, like, how did we actually come up with this decision to sell our house? And by the way, spoiler alert, We just closed on the house. We sold it. We closed on it
Yay.
like 2 days ago. So woohoo, that's why we're in Bali celebrating. Anyway, get to the numbers. I keep talking
taking
about
the personal side is that from a personal standpoint, do you want to deal with the headache of owning and managing a property and the interruptions and all that type of stuff? From a cash flow standpoint, again, we compared it to an equal net equity amount in the stock market. So owning a house, we did not have a mortgage on our house, so we did not have to calculate the cost of a mortgage, a monthly mortgage into it, because we owned our house free and clear. So we had our net rent for the house.
Yeah. Do you have the actual numbers, or
I do.
Yeah.
I do have the actual numbers if we want to go through those.
Just the big
so
picture
anyway,
ones.
so there was the net rent that we got out of the house, or let's call it the gross rent. Then we had property management fees. Now, in our case, we didn't use a property manager.
We did not.
But I think most properties, if you're going to be traveling, most properties you're going to want to have a property manager. That's generally 10% of the annual rent. In our case, we had HOA fees, and those were quite high. But that was in managing a lot of the lawn care in the front, the streets, the pool, since we had a community pool. So we did have HOA costs.
Right.
We did cover some of the utilities for our renter. So we had those to cover. Then we had just basic upkeep of the house. Things are going to break throughout the year.
Right.
Things that need to be replaced. You're going to have, you're going to have to pay the termite and
bug spray, whatever.
the exterminator to come through. So you're going to have. And don't forget those. It's easy to ignore, and they add up.
Right?
So we had those. Then obviously your property taxes. In Arizona, our property taxes are fairly low, but in other areas, property taxes are very high. So that is a huge impact. When you start adding these high numbers together, in the monthly impact on that rent, it's considerably high.
Right.
In our case, so it basically halved our monthly cash flow. Right. So let me say that again. It halved our monthly cash flow.
Yeah, so you think you're getting $5,000 in rent, but you're really getting $2,500. So then you look at our money was locked up in this house. And again, because we didn't have a mortgage, it was a fair amount of money locked up in the house. And we're only getting $2,500 a month on that money.
Yeah.
And so when you take that same amount of money, let's I don't know, we can do a round number. Let's say you put $750,000 in the market.
6% was our break-even point. So from a cash flow standpoint, what that means is if I took 6% out of that, let's say that $500,000, 6%, that equaled the cash flow that we were going to get out of the house. And that includes a 5% annual appreciation that we attach to our house. So all markets are going to be a little bit different. Some houses are going to appreciate faster. Right. Some houses are going to appreciate it lower. We put 5% in to ours from an annual appreciation. But what I did not factor into our model was tax depreciation. And that's an important factor to have. I did not include that. And that would make our rental income performance a little bit better. A little bit better. But I didn't factor that in.
When we factored in 6% was our break even, the market was getting much higher than that over the course of 20 years.
The average over 20 years in the S&P 500 is 10%, believe it or not. I think overall it's like 7.7% over the lifetime. Yeah. So again, anything over 6% for us was going to perform better having that equity in the stock market as opposed to locked into a house. And in the stock market, we worry about resets
years.
And bad years. We worry about that. That happens in the housing market as well.
It does.
And it takes time to recover from a housing standpoint.
Yeah. And so when you really look at it, again, initially our first decision when we first decided to travel extensively in retirement was to rent our house and keep it. I still think that was the right decision at the time. It's like a stepping stone. Once we decided, yes, we definitely are going to travel extensively, when you look at the pure finances, coupled with the amount of work required for a rental house, it was a no-brainer. We're like, oh my gosh, why did we keep this for 2 years? Even though I still think that was the right decision. So at the end of the day, the finances, no matter how we looked at it, it made more sense to sell our house.
Yeah.
And we just did, and we're super excited. But we do know it's a very, very personal decision.
Now, in full transparency, too, we do have a family-owned cabin up in the northern
Yeah.
Arizona area. So we do have a brick and mortar place that we share with other members of our siblings,
Yeah.
with other members of our family. So we do have that place to go back to, that we have our, that's our home
Yeah,
base.
so we
in the
do-
US, that is our home base.
Right. So we do have a place to land if we need it. I will say we probably spend less than a month there, a few weeks there per year. But if we needed it, we had it. But having said that, even if we didn't have that, if we needed to go back home to Arizona, we could rent a place. We could rent it short term, we could rent it long term, and we can always rebuy. So, it's not like this decision is that's it for the rest of your life. It's just something to consider as you're moving forward with your retirement plans.
It's funny. I always used to joke with my kids. I would tell them that home ownership is so overrated when I'm changing a water heater or when I'm fixing some problem. At noon on a Saturday when I'd rather be something else, I'd just be mumbling that home ownership is so overrated.
Yeah.
In this case, you really need to take that statement seriously, I think, compared to other investments. If you're looking for cash flow, you can get that same cash flow out of other investments. And that's what you really should be objective about. Now, a lot of people get worried about having too many eggs in one basket. Why would I put all my money in the stock market? Very valid concern, and that's something that each of us are going to think about individually. And by the way, if we find the right property that meets our needs, it gets much higher rate of return from a rental standpoint, maybe because it's great with Booking.com or Airbnb. If we find that, maybe it can give us a base in Europe. We may do something like that. Who knows?
But we would use a property manager because I don't want to be doing it anymore. And
I'm going to want to get a better than 10% return on that.
For sure, because there's risk involved.
And I'm going to see history that an investment like that got 10% return or higher.
And we can come out with another video on that as we're analyzing some future properties. But those are the things to consider when you're trying to decide, because it's a huge decision as you move into retirement, as you're going to travel extensively. Do you need a home base? Do you want a home base? Look at the financials, look at the personal side of it, and just know nothing is ever set in stone. It's always okay to pivot.
Yeah.
Yep. So thank you so much for joining us on The Freedom Strategy, and we will see you next time.